Welcome to Not Entirely Unlike Tea with Christine Collins. Hey there, it's Christine Collins, and it's my birthday, so we are going to talk today about gifts, love languages, and the neuroscience behind that, as well as some of the specifics for neurodivergent people. And I think it's worth noting that the idea of love languages is thrown around a lot. It's a very popular topic, but it essentially refers to the 5 love languages identified by Gary Chapman in his 1992 book, The 5 Love Languages. And those were words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Now, I know that there are other conversations around there being more than just these 5, but let's just go ahead and take a look at them briefly. Now, the experience of receiving the benefit of something expressed in a love language is often connected to the neurotransmitter oxytocin. Oxytocin is connected to social bonding, affection, feelings of love, feelings of contentment. There may be differences in oxytocin across neurodivergent people, and it's possible that people with ASD, for example, may have lower oxytocin levels in their blood plasma. And so therefore, the expression of affection, both giving and receiving, can be different because of that. There can be differences in things like sensory processing, which will impact how they feel about things like physical touch, for example. Some may find it overwhelming due to oversensitivity, and then if you marry in trauma or anything like that, that can double the effect. And at the same time, there may be a need for specific sensory experiences, specific types of touch or texture, and that could manifest as a preference for things like weighted blankets, for example, which provide pressure stimulation. So as we discuss these different love languages, it's important to note that not everyone is the same across the board. There may be some differences. There can also be differences with the interpretation of nonverbal cues, which could affect the difference in preference for certain love languages one over the other. It may be useful to have a more direct love language impact, such as really specific words of affirmation that are really clear versus things that are more subtle. Now, when it comes to gifting, while receiving gifts can be a love language for anyone, a neurodivergent person may take specific pleasure and delight in sharing highly focused interests that they have with someone else. So that can connect deeply to how affection is expressed in terms of gift giving or even quality time, something that aligns with those hyper-focus, hyper-interest that they may have. So in sharing that special interest with a loved one, or by giving or receiving gifts that are directly connected to that special interest, like a hobby or something that they're just really, really intrigued by, that can be a huge part of love language giving and receiving. Now, when it comes to giving and receiving within the love languages, it is primarily centered around giving in the language of the receiving party. So if the receiving party's love language is gifts, then it can be really lovely for them to receive gifts. They probably also enjoy giving gifts because that's their love language. So finding a happy balance between the love language of the giver and of the receiver can be really helpful. And when it comes to neurodivergent people, there can be a bigger gap perhaps between understanding that someone doing something like doing the dishes for them or providing an act of service, that is an expression of love. That may need to be spelled out just a little bit more clearly that it is being done as an act of love, because it may not register if their love language, for example, is receiving gifts or words of affirmation. It may not necessarily click for them that those acts of service were actually acts of love and being done for the purpose of showing love. So I thought this would be a really fun topic to cover on my birthday, since it is often a time of giving and receiving gifts. And as much as I love receiving gifts, Hobbit style, I also like giving them. So if you are keen to try hypnosis for just $1, you can get a very special opportunity at the very bottom of the podcast show notes. If you'd like to try the Hypno-Pothecary, which is my hypnosis membership, try it for just $1 for your first month. It is then $7 after that going forward. But you get the opportunity to try it out, listen to some different hypnosis audios, see if it's a good fit for you. And I do hope that you found this to be insightful and intriguing. And until we connect the next time, I wish you the most magical and creative rest of your day. Thanks for listening. This is Christine Collins at transformcreate.com.